The silence after the battle was heavier than any explosion. The shattered sphere of the Vaith's power floated like a broken moon in the Shroud Nebula. The human fleet drifted around it, hulls battered, lives lost, hearts pounding. For a moment, hope burned bright. Humanity had survived the impossible. They had struck at the enemy's heart and won. But deep in the darkness, a whisper of dread lingered. Admiral Kane paced the bridge of the Dauntless, staring at the flickering sensor screens. We destroyed their core, but their fleets are still out there. Some are retreating, some are gone, and something tells me not all of them will stay defeated. Jorah Vance's eyes were sharp as he studied the nebula. The Dominion is clever. They may have lost the heart, but their minds are adaptable. They might strike again, differently. We cannot assume the battle is over. Chen, exhausted from constant calculations, shook his head. Even if we assume the core is gone, their psychic network could survive. They could rebuild. We need to be careful. If we let our guard down. The words hung in the air. Then the message came. It was from the Galactic Council. The hologram shimmered above the table. 9 alien faces, each more unreadable than the last. The Kryn speaker's mandibles clicked sharply. Humans, it said, you have survived, but your methods disturb the Council. Using sound as a weapon is unpredictable. You risk destabilizing regions beyond your control. Jorah's hands clenched. We saved lives. Millions. We struck the Dominion's heart. The Serix delegates' glow dimmed. Perhaps, but what if your music affects us as well? What if it spreads uncontrollably? A ripple of unease passed through the room. Other races murmured, their tones uneasy. Kane's jaw tightened. So now the galaxy questions us. After we risked everything, Jorah stepped forward, voice sharp. They mocked us at the Council. They doubted us. Now they fear us, and fear is always dangerous. The Council's gaze hardened. You will return to Earth. Stand down until we assess the consequences of your actions. Kane felt anger rise. They were not soldiers to be punished for victory. They were defenders of humanity, who had just survived the Dominion's might. Understood, Kane said coldly, hiding his fury. For now. But humanity did not return quietly. The Dauntless's fleet regrouped near a human colony. Supplies were low, casualties high, but spirits burned. Survivors carried stories of bravery, songs that had shielded them, and melodies that had driven the Vaith back. Jorah watched the young soldiers, some barely older than children. Their faces were pale, eyes tired, but they sang. Even in their exhaustion, they lifted voices to the stars. One pilot, Mara Klein, wiped a tear and whispered, "They tried to kill us, but we are alive. We are still singing." Leela, now aboard the fleet, played her violin in the observation deck. The song was soft, fragile, but unyielding. It floated across the corridors, into every ship, binding humans together with invisible threads. Jorah approached her. Your music saved them. Saved us all. Leela's lips quivered. I only followed the song. The song was never minute, belonged to everyone. Then the betrayal revealed itself. One of the fleet's officers, Captain Ryan, approached Kane. In the command room. His eyes avoided contact. Admiral, there's something you should know. Some of the Council's ships, they've left quietly. They've taken Dominion technology. They plan to claim it for themselves. They'll use it against us, if needed. Kane's eyes narrowed. They would betray us. After everything, Jorah clenched his fists. The Council fears humanity. They fear what we can do when united, and fear often leads to betrayal. Chen muttered, it's not just the Council. Even now, some humans may doubt us. Some may lose faith. We have to remind everyone why we fight not just for Earth, but for every voice out there. The fleet gathered. Kane addressed them from the deck of the Dauntless. voice loud and unwavering. We survived the impossible. We sang when the Dominion tried to silence us. We fought when every star told us to give up. And now, even as betrayal whispers at our backs, we will not falter. Our music, our courage, our unity, these are our weapons. No council, no empire, no shadow can take that from us. The crew cheered. The song rose again, stronger than ever. Leela's bow swept across her violin, sharp and commanding. Soldiers joined in singing, clapping, shouting. The music filled every ship, every hallway, every heart. Jorah's eyes glistened. Let them doubt us. Let them fear us. We know the truth. We are not weak. We are not fragile. We are humanity. In the shadows, the Vaith remnants watched. Their psychic waves were broken, but a new fear had emerged. Humans were not just survivors, they were unpredictable, unstoppable. And their song, it lingered, echoing across the stars. The Council's betrayal hung in the fleet's mind, a thorn of distrust. Yet humanity's response was clear. Music, courage, unity. Kane gripped the console, feeling the vibrations of the fleet's collective song. We face more challenges, more enemies, more lies, but we fight, together, and we never stop singing. Even in the heart of darkness, in the midst of betrayal and uncertainty, the humans held their music as a shield and a sword, because no empire, no council, no shadow could ever truly silence a people who sang as one. And somewhere, in the deepest reaches of the galaxy, the faint pulse of the Dominion stirred. Humanity's challenge was not yet over, but the galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and it would never forget. He galaxy was quiet, but the quiet was uneasy. The Dominion was shattered, their core destroyed, yet their remnants lingered. In hidden systems, the Galactic Council whispered behind closed doors, unsure what to do with humanity's unprecedented power. Betrayal had threatened to fracture the fleet, but humans held together. They had survived every shadow, every psychic assault, every doubt, even their own fear. Admiral Kane stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, looking out at the nebula behind them. Broken ships floated like the bones of a fallen giant, yet among the wreckage, human flags still flew, and the songs of survivors drifted across space. This isn't over, Jorah Vance said quietly beside him. Some of the Dominion survived, and some members of the Council may still act against us. Kane nodded, jaw tight. Then we prepare. But we don't fight with hatred or fear. We fight with what makes us human. Our courage, our hope, our song. Chen, exhausted but determined, added, and we will show them the one thing they cannot understand, that even broken, we can rise. The fleet moved cautiously through the Shroud Nebula, searching for the last remnants of the Dominion. Sensors flickered as shadows shifted around them. Then, a massive black ship appeared, a relic from the old empire. Its hull was scarred, but it moved with purpose. Targeting the human fleet, a young pilot reported, "They've activated psychic amplification, stronger than anything we faced before." Kane's voice was steady. "Then we sing louder. Every ship, every voice, every heart. Let's remind them why we survived." Leela lifted her violin, her fingers trembling over the strings. The first note rang out, soft and fragile, but it carried. Across the fleet, crew members joined, in drums, flutes, voices, horns. Everything became one. The relic ship shuddered. The Dominion's psychic storm met the humans' song, and for the first time, it faltered. On board the relic, a Vaith commander hissed into the void, trying to crush the music with waves of dark energy. But each strike was met with a stronger human response. Each note, each rhythm, pushed back, deflected, and shattered their psychic control. The humans realized something remarkable. The more they feared, the louder they sang. The more pain and doubt they carried, the stronger the resonance became. Jorah shouted into the comms, "Do not falter. Sing for everyone who cannot. Sing for those who gave everything. The fleet roared with him. Every ship, every deck, every crew member became a living instrument. Even the wounded joined in, their voices trembling but unyielding. And then something incredible happened. The relic ship began to resonate with the music, not as a weapon, but as a conduit. Waves of energy pulsed from it, amplified by the human song, and spread outward, reaching the remnants of the Dominion hidden in distant systems. Every ship, every psychic node, every shadowed mind trembled under the force of humanity's unity. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Chen's hands flew over the console. It's working. The sound is transforming their energy. It's not destroying them, it's changing them. Their psychic networks are collapsing from their own aggression, redirected by our resonance. Kane's eyes widened. We're not just winning, we're outsmarting them. Humanity's music, it adapts, it survives, it overwhelms in ways they cannot comprehend. The relic exploded into light, not a violent explosion, but a radiant pulse that cleansed the nebula. The remaining Vaith vessels, now powerless, drifted silently. Their psychic storms vanished. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion had no control. The fleet erupted in cheers, tears flowing freely. Jorah collapsed to the deck, laughing and crying at once. We did it. We really did it. Layla lowered her violin, exhausted, but smiling. We didn't just fight, we sang, and it was stronger than anything they had. Kane stood, silent for a moment, looking at the stars. The galaxy will remember this day. They may mock us, doubt us, but they will never forget that humans do not give up, that humans fight with everything they are. Chen added quietly, it's not just music, it's heart, it's emotion, it's humanity. Across the galaxy, transmissions carried the story. Planets long under. The war had ended 5 years ago. The Intergalactic Alliance celebrated its victory with grand festivals across 1,000 star systems. The enemy, the Karzel Dominion, had been shattered, their fleets scattered, their leaders executed, their war machines dismantled. Worlds once drowned in fire now bloomed again. Peace was declared. The galaxy exhaled. But humans did not. Captain Rhea Veron leaned against the railing of the observation deck, staring at the graveyard of ships, floating beyond the station. Hulks of metal drifted in silence, broken leviathans from the war. Some still glowed faintly, cores leaking energy like dying stars. Most saw wreckage. Rhea saw questions. We never found their homeworld, she muttered. Behind her, Dr. Kale, Anwar, a quiet man with sharp eyes and a data slate, always in hand, spoke without looking up. No one wanted to keep searching. Too costly, too painful, too dangerous, Rhea added. She turned, her dark eyes hard. The Dominion doesn't just vanish. Armies don't fight without someone giving orders. Kale hesitated. The Alliance believes they're finished, and humans believe in double-checking the locks, Rhea said. They were here on salvage duty. At least, that was the official order stamped by the Alliance Council. In truth, it was an excuse. Humans had volunteered for the scraps, for the debris fields, where no one else cared to look. That was when Kale found it. It wasn't much at first glance, a fragment of crystal data core, half fused to a shattered hull. But when he patched it through the lab's processors, a pattern emerged. Not just a star chart, a map, a hidden map. Lines of alien glyphs spiraled around a single, pulsing symbol, the mark of the Karzel. Rhea's breath caught. The coordinates pointed deep into uncharted space, beyond the Alliance borders, in the dark between galaxies. This isn't wreckage, Kale whispered. His fingers trembled as he turned the data. It's a route they didn't want anyone to find. Rhea clenched her jaw. Then the war isn't over. That's the opening part. The story can unfold with Part 2, Humanity debates whether to share the discovery, but political rivals in the Alliance want to bury the truth. Part 3. A secret expedition. Humanity goes alone. Part 4. They reach a forbidden world, full of Dominion secrets. Part 5. First encounter, with what's left of the Carcel, not dead, but waiting. Part 6. Humanity outsmarts the trap. Part 7. A massive space battle. Humans prove themselves, when the old empires hesitate. Part 8. Finale. The twist. The Carcel weren't just hiding, they were preparing for something greater. Humanity, underestimated again, becomes the key to saving everyone. Ends with a powerful last line. Do you want me to expand the full story in 8 parts like before, using this new title as the central theme? You said. Part 1 words, 900 ka, leko or interesting, hunachea, or third-person style, ma lekniha, or simple basic English, kie paragraph ma, proper emotional. Our attractive ho ChatGPT said, perfect, you want part 1 of the war was over, until humans found the hidden map in approximately 900 words, written in third-person style, with simple basic English, attractive emotional tone, and clear paragraphs. I'll make it cinematic, suspenseful, and engaging. Here's part 1. About 900 words. The war was over until humans found the hidden map, part 1. After the silence, the war was finished, or at least, that was what the galaxy believed. The Intergalactic Alliance had fought for 20 long years against the Carcel Dominion, a ruthless enemy that burned colonies, shattered fleets, and enslaved whole worlds. The day the final Dominion flagship was destroyed, the Alliance declared victory. Across 1,000 systems, fireworks lit the skies. People sang songs of peace, and monuments rose to honor the fallen. But peace sat uneasily on human hearts. Captain Ria Veron stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Kestrel, her gaze locked on the battlefield beyond. Broken ships drifted in the void, twisted metal, shattered wings, and burned-out cores. They floated like corpses in a graveyard of steel. The silence was heavy, almost sacred, but Ria's chest ached with doubt. She whispered to herself, where did they come from? Where did they go? Behind her, Dr. Kale Anwar tapped on his data. He was thin, with quiet eyes that always searched for patterns others ignored. Unlike most scientists, Kale did not celebrate easily. He had lost family in the war, and the idea of closure never sat well with him. The Alliance doesn't care, Kale muttered without looking up. They closed the case. They signed the peace decree. They want to move on. Ria turned, her jaw tight. The Dominion was too organized. Kale, too controlled. Armies like that don't vanish. Someone was giving orders. Someone is still out there. Kale sighed. You sound like a soldier who misses the fight. No, Ria said sharply. She looked back at the dark wreckage. I sound like someone who doesn't want another war to surprise us. For the rest of the galaxy, the war was history. For humans, it was memory, sharp, painful, and unfinished. Humanity had joined the Alliance late, underestimated by the ancient empires. But they had carried wounds, the others didn't. Every human family had lost someone. Every city still bore scars. That was why the humans volunteered for salvage duty. While other species rebuilt glittering capitals and celebrated peace, the humans scoured the wreckage fields. They claimed it was for resources, for learning, for technology. But deep inside, it was for something else, certainty. That was how they found it. Kale had been crawling through the twisted hull of a Dominion war cruiser when his scanner pinged. At first, it looked like a fused lump of crystal, half melted from a plasma strike. He almost left it behind, but the pulse from his scanner repeated, sharp and insistent. Carefully, he pried the object loose. Back on the station, Kale cleaned the fragment and connected it to the human processors. Symbols appeared at once, jagged glyphs, curling lines, Carcel script. His fingers trembled as he adjusted the filters. The glyphs reshaped, connected, then expanded into a pattern. A star chart, but not like any he had seen before. It was not a simple map of systems. It was layered, hidden beneath encryption, almost alive in the way it unfolded. Lines curved, like rivers of light, connecting systems far beyond Alliance borders. At the center of it was a single burning mark, the Dominion's crest, glowing with silent menace. Rhea leaned close, her heart racing. "What is this?" Kale's voice shook. "It's a route, a secret route." They weren't retreating. At random, they were moving somewhere. This is their path. Rhea stared at the glowing lines. "You're saying the war didn't end. It only paused." Kale's throat tightened. "If this map is real, then the Dominion is not dead. They're hiding." Rhea felt a chill crawl up her spine. She thought of the millions who had died, the worlds turned to ash, the children left, without parents. She thought of the Alliance Council, smug in their victory, convinced the threat was gone. She thought of humanity, still standing in the shadows of stronger races, still ignored when they spoke of danger. She clenched her fists. "We can't show this to the Alliance yet. They'll bury it. They'll say we're paranoid." Kale hesitated. "Then what do we do?" Rhea looked at the map. The lines glowed like veins of fire, pulsing with secrets. "We follow it," she said quietly. The words felt heavy, dangerous, but right. Kale's eyes widened. "Alone. Humanity. Doesn't have the fleets? Maybe not," Rhea said, cutting him off. "But we have something else. We don't look away when we're afraid. We don't pretend danger is gone just because we want peace." She turned to him, her voice steady. "We survived Earth's storms. We survived the war. And if the Dominion is still out there, we'll face them before anyone else does." Kale stared at her, then slowly nodded. He knew she was right. He also knew this choice would change everything. The war was supposed to be over. The Alliance had closed the book, but humans had found a hidden page, a map no one was meant to see. Beyond the graveyard of wreckage, in the black sea of stars, something waited, and humanity was about to go looking for it. Captain Rhea Veron did not sleep that night. She sat in her quarters, with the lights dimmed, the stars outside her window burning like silent watchers. The image of the hidden map replayed again and again in her mind, those glowing lines stretching into the unknown. The Dominion's crest pulsing like a wound that refused to heal. She thought of the millions who had died believing the war was over. She thought of the children born in peace, playing in rebuilt cities, not knowing the shadow that might still exist beyond the borders. Her chest ached with fear, but beneath the fear was something sharper, determination. At dawn, she walked into the command chamber of Orbital Station Kestrel. Dr. Kale Anwar was already there, standing beside the console where the map floated above the table. He looked tired, his eyes ringed with shadows. But there was fire in his expression. "We can't keep this secret forever," Kale said quietly. "If the Dominion is alive, the Alliance needs to know." "They won't believe us," Rhea replied. Her voice was steady, but her hands curled into fists. "They'll say it's a trick, or a fragment of old code. And if they do believe, they'll order us to destroy it. They don't want another war. They'll silence us for peace." Before Kale could answer, the chamber doors slid open. A group of figures stepped inside, their forms tall and alien, robes trailing across the polished floor. The Alliance delegation had arrived. At the center was Counselor Verex of the Exari, an insectoid with crystalline wings that shimmered. The hidden map remained in the console, glowing softly like a secret flame. Captain Rhea Veron knew the Alliance would come for it soon. Once they locked it away in their archives, the truth would vanish forever. Humanity would be forced to sit in silence, waiting for the Dominion's return. She refused to let that happen. Rhea stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her ship, It was not a mighty battleship like those of the ancient empires. It was small, a heavy frigate patched with mixed technology, human design mixed with borrowed alien upgrades. To many, it looked like a relic. To Rhea, it was home. Her crew waited quietly as she looked around the bridge. She saw their faces, young, scarred, tired, but loyal. Each of them had lived through the war. Each of them carried memories of burned cities and lost families. She spoke firmly. The Alliance has decided to bury the truth, but we cannot. If the Dominion is alive, then hiding will not save us. We must know. We must see with our own eyes. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Lieutenant Arden Vale, the pilot, leaned forward. His voice was uncertain but steady. "Captain, you mean to follow the map?" "Yes," Rhea said. Her dark eyes burned with determination. "We set course tonight. No orders, no permission. This mission is ours." A silence followed. The choice was dangerous, perhaps even treasonous. But slowly, one by one, the crew nodded. Humanity had always been underestimated in the Alliance. If no one else would take the risk, then they would. Dr. Kale Anwar entered the bridge with a small device in his hands. "I've transferred the map into a portable core. If the Alliance tries to erase the station's copy, we'll still have the path." He looked at Rhea. "But once we jump, there's no turning back. We'll be on our own." Rhea gave a sharp nod. "Prepare the jump drive." The stars shifted as the Resolute powered up. Energy pulsed through the ship, humming like a heartbeat. The crew strapped in, their faces pale but resolved. With a final command, Rhea spoke, "Engage." The ship leaped into the void. The journey was long, and the darkness grew heavier with each jump. They passed stars with no names, systems unmarked on any chart. Strange nebulae twisted like smoke, glowing with colors that seemed alive. Asteroids floated in patterns too perfect to be natural, as if shaped by forgotten hands. The crew grew restless. They whispered about the silence, about the feeling of eyes watching them from the black. One night, Kale sat with Rhea in the observation dome. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and beautiful. "Do you ever wonder," Kale said softly, "why? It's always us. Why humanity can't stop running toward danger?" Rhea's lips curved into a faint smile. "Because we're too stubborn to do anything else." Kale chuckled, but there was sadness in his eyes. "Sometimes I think stubbornness is all we have left." Rhea looked at him, her gaze steady. "Sometimes that's enough." On the 12th jump, they reached the first marked point on the map. What they found froze every voice on the bridge. A planet dead, cracked, silent. Its surface was scorched black, split by vast scars that glowed faintly red, as if the world itself still bled from ancient wounds. Orbiting above it were fragments of ships, not wreckage from the last war, but newer, sharper. Dominion design. Lieutenant Vale's voice trembled. They were here. Kale scanned the debris. His hands shook. These ships, they were not destroyed by us. They were destroyed by each. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Civil war. Kale hesitated. Or something worse. The crew looked at her, fear in their eyes. The Dominion was not gone. That much was clear. But if they were fighting among themselves, it meant their story was far from simple. "Record everything," Rhea ordered. "We take proof back with us." But as Kale worked, alarms flared across the bridge. A signal, a pulse, faint but clear, coming from deeper in the system. "It's a beacon," Kale whispered. "An old Dominion distress call." The crew stiffened. A distress call could mean survivors, or it could mean a trap. Rhea's voice was steady. "Set course for the signal." The Resolute moved forward, engines burning softly against the void. The signal grew stronger. Then, out of the shadows of broken asteroids, a shape appeared. It was a ship, smaller than a war cruiser, its hull scarred, but intact. Dominion. Markings glowed faintly along its surface, like the scars of some wounded beast. The bridge fell silent. "They're alive," Vale whispered. Rhea felt her chest tighten. The war was not over. The enemy was not dead. They were here, waiting, rebuilding. Her voice was cold, certain. "Prepare for contact." The stars outside seemed too dim, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Humanity had followed the map into the dark, and now they stood at the edge of truth. The war had ended for everyone else, but for them, it was only beginning. The Dominion vessel floated in the shadow of a broken moon, its dark hull scarred with fire. It looked like a beast wounded in battle, drifting but not dead. On the bridge of the Resolute, every human held their breath. The air felt heavy, thick with tension. Lieutenant Vale whispered, "Should we open fire?" "No," Rhea said firmly. Her eyes were locked on the alien ship. If they wanted to fight, they'd have struck already. "They're waiting." Dr. Kale Anwar leaned close to the console, scanning the vessel. His voice shook with disbelief. "Captain, I'm reading life signs. Dozens, maybe more." The words fell like thunder. The Dominion was alive. Rhea felt her pulse quicken. Images of the war flashed in her mind. Burning cities, shattered fleets, screams of the dying. The Dominion had been the galaxy's nightmare. To face them again was like staring into the dark mouth of death. But she forced her voice to remain calm. "Open a channel." The crew hesitated. Fear showed in their eyes, but they obeyed. The channel buzzed with static, then cleared. For a long moment, nothing. Then, a face appeared on the screen. It was Dominion, sharp, angular features, skin like ash, eyes burning with a strange silver light. His voice was low, carrying the weight of centuries. "You should not be here, human." Gasps filled the bridge. The enemy spoke their tongue. Rhea stood tall. "The war is over. The Alliance believes your people destroyed. Yet here you are." The Dominion figure tilted his head, studying her as though she were an insect on glass. Then, to their shock, he let out a sound like laughter, harsh and bitter. "Destroyed? No. Broken, yes. Betrayed, yes. But not destroyed." His silver eyes darkened. "You think we were defeated by your alliance? Foolish child. We were defeated by something far greater." The humans froze. Kale whispered, "What does he mean?" Rhea kept her gaze steady. "Then tell me, who destroyed you?" The alien leaned closer to the screen. His voice dropped to a whisper that still seemed to echo in their bones. "The Dark Forge." The name meant nothing to them, but the weight of it chilled the air. Kale frowned. "I've never heard of it." The alien's silver eyes gleamed. "Of course not. Your alliance knows nothing. They believe themselves masters of this galaxy, yet they are blind children. The forge was not made by us. It is older than the stars, a machine that consumes, reshapes, and spreads. We sought to control it. We failed." Rhea's heart pounded. "You're saying your war with the Alliance wasn't your real war?" The Dominion figure nodded slowly. "We fought you only because we were desperate. We needed resources, ships, soldiers, anything to resist the forge. But you were too stubborn, too proud, too blind to see. So we burned your worlds, and in doing so, we lost time. Now the forge awakens again." The bridge fell silent. The words were too heavy, too vast. Vale whispered, "If he's telling the truth, then we've all been fighting the wrong enemy." Rhea struggled to breathe. She looked at Kale, who was pale with shock. His mind raced with possibilities, with fear. If the forge was real, then everything the Alliance believed was a lie. Rhea turned back to the screen. "Why, tell us this. Why not kill us?" The alien's face hardened. "Because humanity is different. The old races are broken by fear. They will never believe. But you," he pointed, his silver eyes burning. "You are reckless, foolish, stubborn. You do not stop even when told to. That is why you are dangerous, and why you may be useful. The crew stirred uneasily. To be called useful by their greatest enemy was no comfort. Cale spoke softly, almost to himself. He's not lying. His readings, his scars, the wreckage here, it matches. Something else destroyed them. Rhea's mind burned with conflict. To trust the Dominion was madness, but to ignore this warning was worse. She spoke carefully. If what you say is true, then the Forge threatens us all. But why show us this map? Why now? The alien leaned back, shadows crossing his face. Because we are dying. Our fleets are broken. Our worlds are ash. The Forge comes, and we cannot stand alone. If the galaxy does not unite, it will devour everything. You are the only ones foolish enough to believe me. The screen flickered, the image fading. Before the connection cut completely, his last words hissed through the static. Remember this, human. The war was never between you and us. It was always between us and the dark. The channel went dead. The bridge was silent. The crew sat frozen, unable to speak. Cale broke the silence, his voice trembling. Captain, if this is true, the Alliance must hear it. Rhea shook her head slowly. They won't listen. They didn't listen about the map. They'll laugh at us again. Or worse, they'll silence us. Vale's voice cracked with fear. Then what do we do? Rhea looked out the viewport. At the broken Dominion ship, glowing faintly in the void. Her chest was heavy, but her eyes burned with iron resolve. We do what humans always do, she said softly. We face the truth, even. The Resolute drifted in silence after the Dominion transmission ended. Every human on the bridge sat frozen, their minds struggling to accept what they had heard. The Dominion, the enemy, who had burned worlds, claimed to be victims themselves. And worse, they spoke of something older, darker. The Forge. Captain Rhea Veron stood at the viewport, staring into the endless black. Her reflection looked back at her tired eyes, firm jaw, the weight of command pressing down like chains. She whispered to herself, if he was lying, why warn us? If he was telling the truth, then the Alliance is blind. Dr. Cale Anwar broke the silence. Captain, I've scanned the Dominion wreckage again. The patterns of destruction are not consistent with any known weapon used in the war. The holes are warped, melted, as if reshaped by something unnatural. Lieutenant, Vale muttered, like something tried to eat the metal itself. A shiver passed through the crew. Rhea turned sharply. Then we need proof. Not just scans, not just words. Evidence. Something even the Alliance cannot deny. Cale hesitated. And where do we find that? Rhea pointed at the glowing map. Core. We follow their trail deeper. The Resolute jumped again, leaving the graveyard world behind. With each leap into the uncharted dark, the crew felt the weight of silence press heavier on their hearts. The stars here seemed colder, farther apart. Even the void itself felt alive, whispering dangers they could not see. 3 days later, they reached the second marked point on the map. At first it looked like an ordinary system, a yellow star. 3 barren planets, a belt of asteroids. But as the Resolute drew closer, alarms screamed across the bridge. Cale's eyes widened at the readings. Captain, there's something in the belt, something huge. The view zoomed in. Between the asteroids floated a structure. It was no natural formation. Black metal twisted into spires, each one glowing faintly, with red veins of energy. The design was wrong. Not Dominion, not Alliance, not any known species. It looked alive, like a machine grown instead of built. Vale whispered, what in God's name is that? Cale's voice shook. It matches the Dominion's description. This is part of the Forge. The crew stared in horror. The structure pulsed like a beating heart, and around it drifted broken ships, Dominion vessels torn apart, their hulls reshaped into grotesque forms, half absorbed into the black metal. Then the pulsing quickened. The forge had noticed them. Contact. Vale shouted. Something's moving. From the spires, pieces of metal broke off. No, not pieces. Machines. They unfurled like wings, forming into sharp, angular constructs. Dozens of them, glowing with red light, rising from the forge structure like a swarm of predators. Kale's voice cracked. They're alive. Rhea snapped into command. Fear pressed at her chest, but she forced it down. Battle stations. All hands to positions. The swarm came fast, moving like a storm of blades. Shields up, Rhea barked. The Resolute shuddered as the first wave struck. Sparks burst across the bridge. Metal screeched. The ship groaned like a wounded beast. Vale wrestled with the controls. They're too fast. Target the ones closest, Rhea ordered. Fire everything. The ship's cannons roared, beams of light cutting through the black. 2 of the constructs exploded, fragments scattering like embers. But 5 more took their place. They're learning, Kale shouted. They're adapting to our fire. Another strike rocked the ship. Consoles burst in flames. Crew members screamed as smoke filled the bridge. For a moment, Rhea felt despair claw at her. The forge was not just a weapon. It was alive, and it wanted them destroyed. But then, through the smoke, she saw her crew, young, afraid, but still fighting. She saw Vale's hands steady on the controls, Kale's sharp eyes racing across the data, engineers rushing to patch the failing shields. Humanity had always been outnumbered, outgunned, underestimated. And still, they endured. Her voice rang like steel. Divert power from the secondary drives to the forward shields. Aim for the spire's core. If this thing is alive, we strike its heart. Kale looked at her in shock. That's suicide. If we miss, we die anyway. Rhea cut him off. Do it. The crew obeyed. The Resolute turned sharply, engines screaming. The swarm followed, claws tearing at the hull. Alarms wailed, red lights flashing, but the ship pressed forward like a spear. Target locked. Vale shouted. Fire. Rhea roared. The main cannon unleashed a beam of burning light, striking the glowing core of the forge structure. For a moment, nothing. Then the spire shuddered. Red veins bursting in waves of fire. The swarm screamed in unison, not with voices, but with vibrations that shook the ship's bones. One by one, the constructs faltered, breaking apart in flashes of light. On the bridge, silence fell, except for the crackle of flames. The spire collapsed, its twisted form folding in on itself before vanishing into dust. The Resolute floated among the wreckage, battered but alive. The crew stared in disbelief. They had faced the forge, and survived. Kale slumped into his chair, breathing hard. We have proof now. Scans, recordings, wreckage, enough to show the Alliance. Rhea's hands trembled, but her voice was strong. Proof isn't enough. They won't listen until they're afraid, and by then, it may be too late. She looked out at the stars, her heart heavy with the weight of truth. The Dominion was right. This is bigger than war, bigger than empires. The forge is coming. Her eyes narrowed, steel returning to her voice, and humanity will be the first to fight it. The Resolute limped back into Alliance space like a wounded survivor crawling home from the battlefield. Its hull was scorched, its shields cracked, and its crew exhausted. But inside, its databanks lay the most important evidence humanity had ever carried. Proof of the forge. As the ship approached the orbit of Arender Prime, the Alliance capital, the crew felt tension settle over them like a storm. The city below sparkled with silver towers, vast oceans of light spread across its surface. Too many. Arender was a beacon of peace. To Captain Rhea Varon, it now looked like a fortress of denial. Dr. Kale Anwar leaned against the console, pale from sleepless nights. We have everything we need. Recordings of the spire, fragments of the constructs, even the energy signatures. They can't ignore this. Lieutenant Vale, his voice low, replied, "You don't know them. They don't see us as equals. They'll call it human exaggeration, or worse, a trick." Rhea's eyes stayed fixed on the glowing planet. "Then, we'll make them listen." Humanity didn't crawl through fire to be dismissed. The council chamber was a colossal dome of glass and stone, suspended above Arender's surface like a jewel. Delegates from dozens of species filled the curved seats, their voices a low thunder of whispers. Towering Varkath warlords with scaled hides, delicate Sarati scholars with crystal skin, insectoid Chilnari clicking their mandibles, all turned their gazes toward the small group of humans walking into the center. Rhea stood before them, her uniform torn from battle, her presence unshaken. Behind her, Kale carried a holoprojector, and Vale's eyes scanned the chamber, like a soldier expecting an ambush. The High Chancellor, an elder Sarati named Lurith, raised her crystalline hand. "Captain Veron of Earth, you come unannounced, your vessel damaged, bearing claims that could ignite panic. Explain yourself." Rhea stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but carried the weight of fire. "We followed the map, hidden in Dominion. Wreckage. What we found was not myth, not rumor. It was real. The forge exists, and it is already awake." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some delegates leaned closer, others hissed in disbelief. Kale activated the holoprojector. The chamber, filled with the image of the spire, the black twisted structure, glowing veins pulsing like a heart. Then came the swarm, the storm of constructs, the desperate battle of the Resolute. The screams of the ship's alarms echoed through the chamber. When the footage ended, silence fell heavy as iron. Finally, a Varkath warlord rose, his scaled body towering. His voice was a growl. "Impressive illusions. The Dominion has used tricks before. Why should we believe humans, the youngest of our alliance, over centuries of wisdom?" Another delegate, a slender Chilnari, clicked her mandibles. "Or perhaps the humans seek glory. Perhaps they engineered this to raise their place among us." Rhea's fists clenched. Her crew had nearly died to bring this proof, and still they were treated as liars. She stepped forward, her voice cutting like a blade. "My crew bled for this. Men and women are dead because of what we saw. Do you think we risked everything for recognition? We risked it because if you continue to hide in your pride, the forge will devour us all." Her words echoed across the chamber, but she could see the doubt in their alien eyes. Fear warred with arrogance. Some whispered agreement, but many folded into denial. Then the worst came. Chancellor Lurith rose again, her voice like glass shattering. "Captain Veron, your passion is noted, but passion is not truth. Without greater proof, without corroboration, this council cannot accept your claims." Rhea's heart sank. "You saw the recordings. Recordings can be fabricated," Lurith interrupted sharply. "And humans, in their short history, have shown a love for drama. You are dismissed until further verification can be acquired." Gasps spread. Kale's face went pale with anger. Vale muttered under his breath, "They're burying it. They're burying us." Rhea's voice shook with fury. "You fools. You sit in towers of light, while darkness grows at your door. When the forge comes, your pride will not save you." The guards began to approach, signaling that the